Once you've clicked on that, you can go ahead, those ready to go ahead and click Reports right above it. All right, you're Paul Baker. You just gave this assessment. This is your pre-post. You have results right now. It was all multiple choice, this particular one, right? So I get 4 test delivery results. I scanned them in or I did it online. I get results by students. I get item analysis, which no one should be on item analysis yet. I can tell when you're on item analysis because your faces change. It's very cool looking data. So I know. You get results over standards and you get proficiency over standards analysis. When I look at results by students, what type of data am I seeing, everyone? Raw score data, number out of number. It's not worth the paper and ink to print this out. It's just not. I could do 5 or 6 things from this report, but it's not going to give you it's going to give you this really cool individual report, those things. There's better data in the system. Use this like you would use state data. When you're in a PLC and you're talking about this type of data, number out of number, spend 3 to 5 minutes on it at the most. Look at your kids, get a good idea where they're at. There's much better data in the system, okay? This is showing it all alphabetical. If I want to see period by period breakdown, and secondary teachers, this is one you're going to want to write down. If I want to see a period by period breakdown, all I have to do is I can see it by period here, but just go to the one called Test Teacher. I'm not going to click on it now, but what that'll do is it'll separate it period by period for all of you, okay? But like I said, this data, it's just there. It's not great. So now let's all click on item analysis. And fancy, fancy colors start to appear. Right? Item analysis is just that. It's a breakdown on how students did on each individual item of your assessment. So when you give your pre-post assessments, you'll see the breakdown of how they did. So right now, I'm currently looking in order of question, 1 through whatever this test has. I think it's like 22. If I click in this red band, who do you think I'm going to see? I'm going to see the students who missed this item. If I click into this green band, I'm going to see students who got this one right. Now I noticed some blue on there as well. Probably means this was not answered, or it's a constructed response and we haven't put the scores in for it yet. Okay? Item analysis is good for 2 things. Let me be very clear about this. It's good for multiple choice and short answer only. It's not good for constructed response because there's so much that goes into looking and analyzing a constructed response. So you won't want to look at your constructed response data and say, you know what, they're proficient here or they're not proficient. It just doesn't happen there. Short answer and multiple choice is what it's good for. We analyze in 2 ways when we look at item analysis reports. We analyze first how students did. Second, how my test performed. Okay? I'm already looking at the pre-posts that are coming out of Terrebonne. I did a data dive last night. I get bored in hotels. We did a data dive last night to see how that assessment is performing. Did we have the right level of rigor questions on there? Did we have exactly what we want for coverage? Was the item too easy or was the item too hard? Did it all align? And so I'm already doing that work. And I'll tell you this, tests that we create, you guys create, they're never perfect. We're always trying to make them better and better. And so you have to look at the test questions that you're actually choosing when you put together assessments. Okay? Now, you see this right here? This is your answer distribution. When I do item analysis type reports, I do this. I could look at all 22 questions, I can go nuts, but I'll be there for days. Do a top 5, bottom 5. Top 5 they got correct, bottom 5 they missed. Okay? Especially when you're doing more formative things because you have to move on. You can't get stuck in that data. You got to make a decision. So let's look at the bottom 5. Go ahead and click correct right here. And tell me, what item are they struggling with the most? What number? Number 13. Let's look at the answer distribution. C was the correct answer, correct? But what was the major distractor here? D, sitting at 40%. And I'm going to tell you 17%, 19%, that's a pretty high distractor as well. Okay, this is not the simple, I just have to do a 5-minute warm-up to take care of this one. This is, we need some more lessons around this particular standard or target, whatever we are doing with that one. It's a crucial one, okay? Now, do me a favor, hover over D, answer D. Just hover, put your mouse over it. What does it give you? It gives you a distractor. Remember, we built these with distractors in them, okay? In the system, it's actually called a response rationale, but we use distractor rationale when we do this, distractor analysis, okay? So I can see the misconceptions that these students had. How does that help me with instruction, everyone? I think it's pretty self-explanatory, right? This is where we need to go. If this is a really rich item, I can use a really rich item to teach from. I can look at the distractor and know, hey, we have to go with this misconception here. Now, what do you want to know next after you know the distractor? You want to see the item. Hover over the item number. And if it's built in our system, which all of your Common Core items will be in there, you get to see the item itself. Okay? Do me a favor, just really quickly with your teams, talk about how could we use this information during our PLCs? What should conversations sound like? And how could we move forward with conversations? Now your ELA misconception, math's really easy to make a misconception of. ELA, sometimes it's a little bit more difficult. So if you see something in an item, say, you know what, I really saw this misconception play out more so than something like that. You just need to let us know, because we'll look at that distractor. Our content people. ELE teachers argue? I'm shocked right now. I'm just going to walk out of here. Math just goes, we just do it. We just go. Yeah. No. See, your PLCs are a lot more fun than math. They just move on. They're ready to roll. Yeah. And so your distractors will be interesting in those ways. So, you know, if you see something, you just got to let us know that, hey, we see this more of a misconception. We have content people just like yourselves that have been doing it for years, but it's easy to say, in my classroom, I saw this.
I have a question about the pre-post test. Is it just pre and post, or is it supposed to be given mid-year?
Yeah, I think you guys are doing, well, it depends, really. You can give it 3 times a year if you really wanted to. One time towards December or whatever, just to see some growth there, okay? But I'm gonna tell you, it's not a high rigor test. I'm just gonna tell you now, it's just start transitioning with just the shifts in ELA, the text complexity and all that right now. You're not gonna see summative level questions on there, a lot of DOK level 3s. You'll see a couple, but actually you won't. I take that back, because of multiple choice, we can only get to level 2 anyway. So it's not gonna be this big full scope and sequence, but it'll give you a good idea of where they're at. All right, so I'm gonna do something on mine, so I'm just gonna have you watch mine because there's a bug in the system and I know exactly what's gonna happen here, everyone. So another way I could do this is this. I might currently right now under item analysis right here, I'm going to change this to what we call answer distribution, and I'm just going to do it on mine. And I'm going to include students, and I'm going to go ahead and click print. What that's going to do is give me a printout of each item, the rationale, and the students who answered that particular item that way. So if I want to print this out for an item like item 13, 14, whatever it may be, or just for every item because it's a short test, this particular report, it looks really good when it comes up, will be there for you guys so you can actually look at those distractors when they're there. Okay. Here's the rationale. B was the right answer. Question 1. Here's the students who missed it at the A, who chose A. There's that rationale. I can see what's there. Okay. I can also see what period they're actually from if it's high school. So I can see the period they're from the high school there. Okay. So I get a really nice look in this way. Okay. Everybody, any responses to item analysis? Everything look okay there? Pretty cool?
Can we add 3 hours to the day somewhere?
You can make it a 27-hour day, just no problem with me. You can see you can get lost in these reports. Top 5, bottom 5. I'm warning you right now. But I can almost guarantee you're not going to take that warning. You're going to go, let's look at every item and see how they did. And you're going to be looking for days, all right? You need to make decisions based on those student needs. So remember the framing thinking activity? I said learner-centered problem or student need. This is where it slowly starts to, where we start to see that need. It's starting to come to a concept for us to say, you know what? I'm really seeing what they're struggling with. We see the standard over here. Disregard this for right now. I'm going to talk about this in a second. But we start to see the standard here and the target here. But I know it's within that particular item and this standard where I truly define what it is. I can't just say, oh, you know what? It's applying algebraic techniques. That's what it is to solve problems. That's their issue. It's not that. It's something within the content itself. So really define what it is between those two things. Let me explain. I had an exciting conversation last night with your network. You guys are Network 4, I believe, as part of the state networks. We all know that now? Okay. All know we're Network 4. I had an exciting conversation with the leader of Network 4, Francis, over dinner last night. See this tool called District Resources right here, okay? We're going to do something very special with that I haven't seen districts really do, but I think it's going to be pretty cool. We're going to try to put some of your toolbox there that you have at the state. We're going to try to put some of those things in there. They're going to be putting some different types of resources for you, strategies, techniques, all of that. You guys can actually populate it yourselves as well. So say, for example, if this one came up, Algebra 15, the standard was tough to teach, and you had a great lesson with Algebra 15, we could put that in there as a resource so others can look at it, okay? So it's a really nice piece. Disregard NetTracker right now. I'm going to actually get that taken out of your system. All right. Any questions about item analysis? Pretty cool? All right, let's go to the next one, results over standards. With your elbow partner, what kind of data are you getting here? Standard by standard breakdown of how they did. Click on the word proficient, and we'll talk about the word proficient. It's a word I don't like. And you'll notice it'll go ascending to descending, so click on it again. Okay, so you can get a really good sense of which standards they're struggling with. And so it's between these two that we really want to see how we're defining what that particular need may be. Okay? Now let me talk about the word proficient. It is really easy to assume when you see a system like this that, oh, they took a test, they're either proficient or not proficient. Keep in mind, this is one assessment. That's all we're looking at. You don't deem a student proficient based on one piece of data, okay? Multiple measures of data is what we look for. Classroom, tasks, whatever it may be. I like the word here to be changed. I've been trying to get it changed for years here to performance. This is how they performed on this particular assessment alone, okay? Doesn't deem proficiency. Now, if I was to click here, you know I'd see students, but I'm going to show you a little thing here. Down the road, you're going to ask me about student groups. I'm going to show it to you and preview it for you. You don't have to be concerned with it right now and training it with anybody. I'm going to say, you know what? I've seen enough here. I know it's Algebra Standard 15, 16 that they're struggling with here. They missed the most. I'm ready to, after a pre-post, add some students to a group. When I add students to a group, now when I click in the band, what's going to happen is this. It's going to ask me, which group of students do you want to put in there? Or excuse me, which group do you want to add students to? Am I going to create a new group? Add, edit. Is it a group that already exists? Okay. At-risk high school, whatever it may be. And then what I see here is, well, Algebra 1 district assessment. I want to add these students here to this group. But let me tell you something. It looks really cool. It's a fun little function, but it's only a fun little function and effective if you monitor its progress. Don't create a group that you're not going to monitor progress for. Okay? And don't create a group where you name it Jeremy's favorite group. Right? Be very specific. I should know the exact data that I'm looking at when I see your group name. This is the RTI Intervention 1 group. That in my mind triggers what type of data I should be looking for. Okay? It's the RTI level 2. Be very careful with it. When we start groups, we generally start at the district level, but the reason I show all of you is because you may have great interest of monitoring groups as you're going along after assessments and some things you want to do. Okay? You don't have to remember to do it now, but it's just something you'll see later. I'm going to return to recent tests. And I'm going to go to one more report, everyone. Proficiency over standards analysis. That last tab, POSA. And look what kind of data you're getting here. Go ahead and discuss that. What are you seeing there? All right. Pretty cool data. Let me show you how to make it even better. Okay? It's a little cold in here. A lot cold in here. You are looking at one assessment. Imagine if you were looking at 4 or 5 assessments built on the exact same standards. Because when we build assessments, we align questions to standards, right? Imagine we put 4 or 5 of those together. Instead of just 3 points possible, you could be looking at 30 points possible because you collected all your benchmark data and put it together. So it compiles the data. Now what that won't do is this. It won't show growth, but it will give you a good idea of where students are at performance-wise on that particular standard. So I could have chose 4 or 5, looked at it all at one time. It's going to compile that data together. And I can get a really good sense of where we're at. Now, where would that come in handy? Click into a student's name. Look at the student level report you get. Imagine what it's going to look like when there's 4 or 5. I get a really good sense of what standards they're struggling with. This can be a PDF. If I click on print, it's just going to make a PDF. You can save this, email it, talk about it with parents. It's another tool you bring to a 504 of some classroom level assessments, different from the state level assessments. There's a lot of things you can do with this particular report. Okay? Now, some of you might be saying to yourselves, why isn't this moon full when it's 100%? Right? They got all the right, 3 out of 3. Reason it's not on this particular assessment is because there's not enough questions to deem proficiency there or mastery. Okay? So we set it for proficiency, but it's not for mastery. Okay? Or I'm sorry, in your language, we set it for mastery, but there's not enough for advanced. Okay? Now, that opened another window. I'm going to close that window, and I want to talk about this report a little bit more. How many of you would rather see percentages instead of moons? Anybody? Anybody? I'm going to torture your eyes. This is why we did not set it to percentages right away. You can see trying to read that might be a little difficult. That's why we do the moons reports. And it's debatable whether these are moons, by the way. I've never seen a 3/4 moon look like that. So we have fights in the office. Is it moons? Is it pies? Moon pie? Whatever it may be, right? It's there. Let me tell you how your cut points are currently set. we default your system, we try to default your system to exactly what the state has, okay? I can almost tell you right now, and I'm going to check it to make sure, that we're sitting at advanced if we're 90% and above on an assessment, okay? Mastery is going to be 70 to 90, because we're proficient in it. Okay? Basic's going to be 50 to 70 in your cut points. This is going to be 30 to 50, and anything below is going to be unsatisfactory, okay? Now, ultimately down the road, we're going to work with the consortia to figure out, are these the cut points that we want, okay? And we're going to do some work early on that, and the reason we're going to do it early on is because if I want to compare assessments later on, they have to be built on the same cut points. I don't suggest any of you go in and build your assessments with different cut points at this point. Let it default to what it is. It still gives you the exact picture of what you want on the data itself, okay? Like I said, I don't get into that word proficiency right here. I just look at the data itself, okay? This is the one function I would show to my teachers, okay? I'm going to leave the demo open for you under this P. Baker 321, okay? So you have it to show. But here's an option for you that I even think may be even better if you can be more patient. I know on Wednesday you have to go back and just kind of explain, or whenever you have to go back and explain what you've seen and to be a kind of train the trainer model. Train the trainer works very well when you're dealing with your own data. So one of the things you might want to consider first is this. Let's just figure out how we're going to give this first pre-post at our school sites, either scanner, online, whatever it may be. Let's just give them the paperwork, say, hey, this is the test, fill it out here, have kids do it, either hard copy or, like I said, online. Get that data in there, then you train your reports, because then you'll have some data in the system to look at, and the data will be much more meaningful than my demo database. So if you want to be patient with going back, and I know everybody wants to be patient to have to train data-wise, going back, it's just easier that way. It makes it make more sense. You can see it right there. Does that sound good? Okay. That'll be something at the district. I think we want to talk about a process like that very much so. Okay. So on this first day, you may not show these reports. We just may log in and go look at content. That's all we'll do. Okay? We'll look at the pre-post assessments. That's all we'll do. All right, so for my purposes, let's go back to the dashboard, everyone. So my tests and my students, these two right here, those are the ones your teacher's going to use the most. The ones you're training, they're not going to worry about scoring yet because we're just not there yet on a benchmark. We'll worry about that when it comes. Create a test. Most likely, people won't create a test in this first semester whatsoever. Okay? The reason being is we used a lot of the items to build your assessment. And so when we refill the item bank, which was going to happen, we're going to replace items, then at that point we can start going into create a test. You don't have to show them create a test right away. Okay? Just the reports will do just fine now. Roll this out slowly and with careful thought. Okay? It's not a rush to get into the system. It's going to be there all year. All right, so my tests and my students. Let's get you into some of the Common Core content, the testlets. Everybody see this widget here? Do me a favor, click on where it says support materials. We provide you, when we do benchmarks and set everything up, we provide you some support so that when you go back to have to explain, hey, what's a testlet? What's a formative assessment? What do they mean by that? There are videos for our program that will do that for you. Play the video. You don't have to sit there and struggle with it. Play the video. Now, the first one I think is a little bit salesy. You guys have already bought it, but it does give you some good insight into what it is, this whole program. The second one here starts to talk about the different types of items we're using. Okay? And so let me explain where this testlet idea came up with and what types of items we're doing and how we're using it. During a transitional time, like this year, we did not right away start throwing out performance tasks, put those in front of you, because you just don't do that. We have to transition into the items. They got to get used to those items. So they're going to get used to those multiple choice that they know about. They're going to start getting used to those EBSRs within the classroom instruction, within classroom assessments. They're going to get used to answering a constructed response, looking at the closed passages, or answering a scaffold question in mathematics. We slowly release item types as we go along here. And the reason we're doing that is because we want them to slowly transition into these items. Teach it, teach it, teach it. Now they're ready for that type of item. Now you move on to another difficult item. Okay? Ultimately, down the road, you will have all your technology-enabled enhanced items. I bet it's really exciting to go to Park's website right now and take that online test, and it looks really cool. I'm going to tell you, no platforms are there right now. It's almost like a false platform in a way. It doesn't have 1,000 kids on it right now trying to take that test, failing networks and everything else. So you're rushed to say, I have to teach them how to do it on the internet. I have to teach how to use the tools. Kids will know that. And we'll be at iPad 9 before that actually really happens, right? Kids know that stuff. What we want to do is make sure we're really using the content in instructional ways in the classroom. Paper, pencil, not a bad way to give a test. Okay? Not a bad way to give an assessment. So I want you to think about that. Don't rush towards the technology. Later on, we're going to replace our test delivery system. I'm going to show it to you in a second, but we're going to replace it with something that's going to look pretty similar to what Park has. It's a next generation platform where they'll be able to highlight, they'll have tools, the calculators will show up, all that kind of cool looking stuff will be there ultimately down the road. Okay? So these videos will kind of walk you through that. The testlets themselves, go ahead and click on either reading or math, whatever you want, and your grade level. Now you're in a demo, you're only going to see 3 at the high school level. September, guys, we're going to tell you how these testlets will be in your system in September. So I'm going to go to grade 10 reading. And I can see I have some informational text. Okay, if I'm looking at math right now, I'm seeing by the domain how we built it. I see informational text that we use here. And notice in my grade 10, tell me a science teacher couldn't use this informational text to teach something with wind turbines and using articles for short closed passages. A history teacher using Abraham Lincoln, okay, during American history there. So you see, or U.S. history, excuse me. So you see we've done a lot of different types of informational reading, literary, whatever it may be. Now these are just a few of the passages and testlets, and people say, well, are these the power standards? Nope, every standard is equally powerful. We just chose to build around this passage and this cluster of standards for this particular one. Okay? So go ahead and take a look at those. And when you're ready, you can go ahead and just close that page out. You can look at some other grade levels. Just take a minute or so. See what's there. There will be 5 to 6, I do believe, in September total when we have testlets.
And these aren't clickable because it's the demo?
Nope, they're not clickable because you're not in the testlet. You're just looking at an index.
Okay,
Yeah, we're going to get into it.
gotcha.
Yep. Now, 2 ways I can get to those testlets to get into the test and see what it looks like, okay? I could just go right here into reading or math from the support materials. The way you will show teachers how to do it, they can just do that, but the way you're going to show your other teachers at the school site, if I'm on the dashboard, yes, I want to close it, I can just go into a testlet from right up here up front, okay? But I will tell you this, that support materials where I was with the videos, we don't require a lot, but if we wanted to require something, we would want teachers to watch those videos before they give this testlet. And I'll show you why, exactly what happens when we don't. Go ahead and click on any testlet you want, any grade level from up front here. I'm going to go back to my 10th grade one. And the first thing you do is you see all the forms that exist, and each form has 3 components: blueprints and targets, student test form, and a scoring guide. Okay? Let's click on one of the blueprints, any one you want, doesn't really matter. I'm going to go form 3 this time. And I have a literary passage here. Do me a favor, with your neighbors, out loud. Read the purpose of the assessment on your blueprint. Now read it in another language again, right? Try to do it in sign language for those that can sign. All right, read it backwards. Does it say anything about summative? No. Does it say anything about putting a grade on it? No. This is to gather evidence of student learning to see where they're at. It's a tool that's going to allow you, if I give it as a pre, just before I start my unit, I'll get a chance to see which standards I know I have to focus on for that particular time, between that benchmark. I can give it as a post as well, like a pre-post, just to see growth, but I'm not going to put a grade on it. I'm going to score it, but I'm not going to put a grade on it. These should be in students' hands if you're going to use them. They can be broken down, taken apart. You can take an item out and say, you know what, we're going to really look at this, just hone in on this item type, this constructed response. I'm going to take this item for an exit slip out the door, put it under my camera viewer. It's an exit slip item out the door. Whatever it is, use it. It's very flexible. They're not prescriptive by nature. Okay? We want you to use it. Now the one little thing here that is off, and I can tell you it's off after we did some research, says 20 to 30 minutes for a testlet. If it takes you a class period, take the class period, because all you're doing is building evidence. You're collecting evidence of learning. Okay? I can tell you with some of the text complexity for my ELA teachers, it's a high level complexity, so it might take a little longer. Math, you might move a little slightly faster, just depending on what the type of items you're looking at. Okay? Scroll down here. Go ahead and look at math. You're just looking at cluster here. ELA, you're looking at the anchor standards we focused here. Okay? And go ahead and look at the target standards that exist there and what we're doing with those target standards.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Sure.
On these testlets, I know high school is going to be different because the testlets were created before the benchmarks.
Yeah, we're going to revise those.
But let's say elementary and middle world, are the testlets ordered in a way
Good question.
that will follow the benchmark?
They are absolutely not. They've got to follow your scope and sequence. So, Form 6.
But for middle school, we didn't do that.
Well,
We followed yours.
yeah, you followed our scope and sequence for middle school, let's say.
Right.
But the testlets themselves, 1 through 6, I could use 6 if it follows that scope and sequence. I can use 5 at this between this benchmark.
But they're not necessarily.
No, not in
aligned
sequential order.
for benchmark.
No, no. Because we sell them as a separate tool just for people to use in that way, we didn't want to align to anything. We want people flexibility with them. Okay. So you see the target standards. Now I'm going to explain something very important with the testlet, and it's going to be different with the summative. You see the depth of knowledge here. Okay? This is the depth of knowledge rigor level. You're going to notice that the rigor level may be lower than the existing target that's sitting here. Okay? This depth of knowledge indicates the item. It doesn't indicate the full standard. We put a lower depth of knowledge question on a formative assessment. Why? Because we want to see where they're starting. We want to see the gaps of where they're starting. If you put all summative 3-level items right there and they got them all wrong, you would have no idea where they're at and what they actually know. So with a formative, we put a lower level DOK item just so we can see entry into the item itself, into the standard. Where are you at in that progress there? Okay. The item types that exist there, okay, you're going to see a lot more EBSRs in yours. These are some older ones. Multiple choice, constructed response, math, you see short answer. Item position and all that will become very important here in a second. Scroll down. Remember those student learning targets I talked to you about formative assessment that drive the instruction for the unit? We've unpacked those standards into these I can statements. It's not an exact science. You may add some I cans yourself. You may break down some of those I cans to be even more on a daily basis. It's not perfect. It's never perfect. Okay? You should see the conversations we have around I can statements. It takes forever. Okay? We're like English teachers. We like to talk about them, right? Absolutely. So I can explain all these different things. These I cans go with those item types. Okay? What does understand mean? I got to figure that out. So we need to break this down a little bit more. Okay? So they're not perfect, but use them as a formative tool to guide the instruction through your 9-week unit or whatever it may be. Okay? Now these may not be the only targets you're honed in on and focused in on, but they will be for a short amount of time during that 9 weeks possibly. Okay? So go ahead and take a look at those. And really quickly with your elbow partner, just talk about why is it important we set up blueprints like this when we build assessments. So what do you think, everybody? Why the blueprints? Why would we build these for our assessments? We have to know exactly where we're going with this assessment and what it's going to do. If I tell you it's something that's formative, in my mind already, I know what I can do with that data. If I tell you it's both formative and summative, that gives me a different idea of what I can do with that particular data. Okay? We have to know what we're actually teaching towards. So that's why we're very clear. When we create assessments, this is a practice we go through at the state level, same practice. Your benchmarks will have those, as well as your pre-post assessments will have those. Okay? So let's close that window. Let's go to a student test form. Go ahead and click on a student test form. You can actually see it. I have selections with Romeo and Juliet. Sometimes you're going to see plays in ELA. Sometimes you're going to see informational type readings. You're going to see poems. You're going to see a lot of different things. Math, you're looking at your items.
Okay, I have another question.
Sure. This one has 3 selections, by the way, I chose.
Reviewing the high school benchmarks, I know for a fact Romeo and Juliet was on one of our benchmark assessments. Would it be a different excerpt on the test list?
Yeah, they're going to yank this one. Yes. All of that data is being moved, and I'm going to tell you, you don't have access to testlets right now because they're being revised based on your benchmarks. This is just a demo database to actually get a look at them. And I'll tell you this, if you share these on your day, just get them into some of the content to see what's going to be possible and everything like that, and you do it from this demo, just tell people, please do not print them out. If you feel people are going to print them out and use them, don't even show them. Don't even show them. Because these are all being revised, and you're going to see some of these on your benchmarks. We're switching the items around. Okay? Just be very careful with it. So this one has 3 selections. Ooh. And I'm going to go down to my constructive response here. And I share a little story about my daughter. My daughter's 11 years old. She was a fortunate child to have to take the state level assessment in California, the CST, and then she was fortunate enough to get 35 questions on a field test from Smarter Balance, right? Some get like 9 or 10. She got stuck with like 35 items to do on this field test. So the first week she takes her CST. Now, I'm pretty lucky. Bright little girl, wonderful, smart, gifted in many ways. So I look at her a lot of times and say, there's no way I'm your real father. There's just no way I'm your dad. The way she explains things, she uses big words. I have Google out. She's her mother. She is completely her mother. Anyway, she took her CSTs and she does really well. She either gets perfect state scores or just misses a couple items. So 600 is perfect. She's at 600 or 590, 584. Real easy item types for her multiple choice. And every time I ask her, say, how did it go? And she goes, yeah, it was good. I didn't have to really think, it was just typical multiple choice, and she felt really good. Well, the next week she took Smarter Balance's field test. And they put them in these cubicles, and they put them on these computers, and they were blocking everything off, trying to get this data right, this field test right. And what happened was, she came to an item that looked exactly like this. I didn't prep her for the types of items. She knows what I do. She knows data-wise better than most of my clients, by the way. So they see it, my kids see that stuff. But she came to an item like this. And she said, Daddy, I got anxious. And I said, well, what do you mean? I got anxious. I said, well, what does that mean? She says, I actually had to think this time. And I said, what? Say that again. I had to think. I said, oh, well, what does that mean I have to think? Well, on a multiple choice, I don't have to think. It's either A, B, C, or D. But this one, I really had to think about how I was going to write that down. And I said, well, did you know the answer? Could you pull the evidence? She goes, yes. I highlighted everything. I had all my evidence. I just didn't know what type of answer they were expecting. I didn't know if it should be in 4 paragraphs, 3 paragraphs, 2 paragraphs. What should be my topic sentence? I had to think about the first sentence I had to put on the paper. And you can imagine now putting time limits on that and saying, you have to finish this item in so much in a few minutes. Imagine the pressure that puts on a child. She's a highly gifted little girl who actually had to think really for the first time in her life with a test item. And this is happening all over the country. When your kids go on and they take park assessments, when they release those state items, you're getting released state items in about a week or so, we're going to put them in our system and we're going to actually build you a test from them. Okay? So that you can give your kids one of those tests to see what ultimately what it'll look like down the road. Okay? But we really have to think. And so we have to give time. That's why this tool is created, to use in the classroom and get students used to these items within the realm of instruction. Make sense? All right, let's close that out. Let's go to last but not least, your scoring guide. And then we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of how to give a test in data-wise. We're probably not going to hit create a test today, and it's really not important today. We'll do that one later when it comes up in training. But I want you to look at the scoring guide. This is not only a transition for your students, it's a transition for us. So you'll notice in a scoring guide, with your benchmark, your pre-post, and a testlet, we take you right back to the standard here. So you can see that standard, you can see that depth of knowledge, and you can see how we align items. And the other piece you get in a scoring guide is you get the distractor rationales that exist. Okay? Why a student may have chosen an answer. Okay? What misconception do they have? Why are 75% reading that B is the correct answer here? Okay? So you have the distractor rationales. And then at the bottom on the constructed responses, and I'm doing this a little bit faster than usual, but you have all of your training notes for your constructed responses. Every item comes with a rubric. If it's a constructed response, 4 points or 2 points, depending on the rubric. And then any test we have in the system, like your benchmarks and everything else, we have scoring guides for the constructed response. So that a 4 in your room is a 4 at your school and a 4 at your school. A 3 at your school is a 3 at that school is a 3 at that school. We have to work on that calibration this year. So we put the training notes in there when you score your benchmarks. Okay. Now, if this is to inform instruction, high school teachers, how many kids do you see in a day? 144 this year. All right, so imagine this. I'm starting a unit. I want to give this, so I give it to my kids. And it's to guide instruction, right? How long is it going to take you to go through 144 kids' pieces of work? Item analysis or constructed response, multiple choice. It's going to take you forever. Let me give you guys some options at the high school. Okay? First of all, constructed responses in a formative. Do me a favor. Choose 4 or 5 from the class, each class. Look at the range from a proficient student, or excuse me, a mastery student, to just below mastery and a few below that. You will get your trends and patterns from that to see where your students need to be. Don't go home and grade every one of them. It's formative. You just want trends and patterns to be able to guide instruction. Okay? On a benchmark, you bet we're going to grade those. But on formative, don't do it. Item analysis now. Remember that report there? I told you it's really good for multiple choice. You can give this testlet through the system, either online or paper pencil, just the multiple choice part of it, and you will get that item analysis report right away. So your 144 kids will have responses right away. You don't have to go home and grade A, this one did A, this one did A, this one did A. You can get that right away. So give that portion of it through the system, but keep the rest of it kind of paper pencil. Okay, they can transfer answers on. Right? It's really meant for evidence use, but make it manageable. Make sense? Last but not least on this section, before I get you into your other ones, your live database, I'm just going to do it up here. You do not have to do this. Remember those formative tools? We talked about learning guides, or excuse me, learning targets. Well, what if we did this at high school, and each student during that unit of instruction had self-assessment learning targets where they write this one down and they're reflecting on how they did on their pre, and they write some evidence, and how they did on a post if you did it this way. The better one that I've seen, chop it into like 5 or 6 columns, actually make them put dates on there Where are we at with this target? I'm a check right now. I'm a check, I'm a check, I'm a check plus. I get it. It's that self-evaluation process. That's a tool for you guys that you can use in there. Other tools, item analysis and feedback. People will tell me, I don't have the time to do this. I'm going to tell you, make the time to do this, because this is what got the significant changes in formative assessment. After the testlet, give them the answers. Give it to them. I understand, I still don't understand. Add a third column here. Put simple mistake or I really need help with this standard. Let them evaluate themselves and give you feedback based on the target. Them using these sheets is a very, very powerful tool with their learning. Okay? Makes the rest of their learning easier. For all of you, I told you feedback was crucial. Here's a constructive response calibration. I told you feedback was crucial. Stars and steps, something very simple like this. Same thing applies here. I'm not going to give this to 144 kids. Okay? I'm going to choose 5 or 6 that I'm going to hone in for the class on that particular week or this unit, and I'll work with them because it's really practice for you guys to give descriptive feedback in the classroom. And then once you got that descriptive feedback down based on targets, then you can start giving it without giving a sheet like this. Okay? But it has to push learning forward. I gave you the 8-hour speech in a few. We have about 20 minutes or so. Now we're going to get into the technical stuff of giving your first assessment. Okay? So let's do this. Let's go close this database down. We're going to go to your live. Don't log out. Close it completely out. I'm going to put your live database on here, and we're going to make sure you're all in the system. If you're not in the system, I'm going to get you in the system. Teachers, you will be automatically in the system. I've already put some widgets on there for you. This PowerPoint that I have, it's already in there. So if you click in there, you have access to my PowerPoint that I created earlier today. You have what we call a quick start guide. Quick start guide will walk you through everything I'm about to show you. Okay? It'll walk you through creating a test, getting to those 4 reports, my students. It'll tell you click by click where you go. This is a really good guide to have in handy. I actually prefer this guide to do some of the basic things over actually going into the help center to do it. It's just really simple. Okay? You see a number right here on your help desk, for the DataWise help desk. Anytime you're in the system and you're having an issue, do me a favor. Don't let the technology hold you up. Don't give up on the technology. Call the help desk. I'm going to make sure in my PowerPoint you actually have my phone number. The only time I don't answer a phone is when I'm in a setting like this. So please use the help desk. They're there. They're the nicest people I can tell you in the world. They're up in Northern California, very sweet, very nice, very patient, and will listen. So if you want to tell them other problems that you had with students during the day, just let them know it all. Right? They will listen to you. They're good people. You have some other ones here. Here's some of those videos. You notice you don't see the widget for the Common Core yet. Those are being revised right now, and those will be coming out probably in a couple weeks based on the benchmarks. We just got to get a benchmark reviewed, and then we'll put everything in your system. Once that widget comes, it's going to come to me first. I'm going to give it to the admin, and then we'll get it to all teachers as well. Okay? For right now, for purposes on, when you have to go back and share some of this work, use the demo database, but don't print. Okay? All right, so let's go to the left-hand side. Go to your favorites. Let's populate your favorites with left click and hold, my tests. Okay. For you guys only, you can put create a test up there, even though we didn't do it today. You can put that up there. I know you'll have great interest in that. And then under students, my students. And actually, one more under test delivery for you guys was the scoring. The scoring will only become important when you do the benchmarks, and I will do a webinar with your leadership to make sure you guys know how to score in the system itself. Okay? So I'm going to go into my tests, mine. Here's the scenario. District has scheduled a pre-post test for you to give. Okay? Yours is not going to be there right now. But they've scheduled a pre-post for you to give. When you go into your system, you're going to go under scheduled tests. You're going to see it's scheduled for you. Okay? It's already scheduled. What you're going to see is a drop down. I don't think I have anything scheduled in your system yet. But what you're going to see it is a drop down that looks like, and I'm just going to jump to my demo really fast because I want you to see the whole thing. You're going to see a drop down that says either edit the test, which you won't edit, you won't have to do it, give a clicker test if we're doing clicker tests, or you're going to see print student logins for online or print out answer sheets. And this is really, everyone, where you have to make some decisions as a district, and I think we can kind of talk this through. I would have one person at the school print answer sheets if you're going to go that mode of printing answer sheets. Okay? Reason being is, if I start to see, you print something off your scanner, you print something off another scanner, and the alignment's not there, you're going to have it's going to wreak havoc when you're putting the results in, and you see all these different things start to show up. Okay? You're going to see, oh, it's double bubbled, this line's going through, this one doesn't align with this. Okay? So we're currently working on a new scanning system that should be out very soon. I'm just waiting to hear word how it tested. But that will cure that problem. But for right now, it's going to have one scanner. Ben right now is hooking up scanners for us at your sites, okay, for those that are going to have scanners at their sites. For those that are going to do online as well, just online. But what it'll look like under a scheduled test is this. Someone scheduled me a test. I can go in. I can give a clicker test. I can't edit it because it's not my test. I can score the constructor responses if they're there. I could print the test out if I want a hard copy. I could print out the answer sheets and logins right here, okay, if it's answer sheets or it's logins. I could print out a test key, or I can view the schedule. Let me tell you something. Don't view the schedule. If it's a common assessment from the district, they viewed the schedule, they set it. What you have the possibility of doing, and I already saw it at Terrebonne, someone changed the schedule on me. So now results are coming back in 2 sets rather than all the data coming back together. So I have an 11th grade reading test on August 21st and an 11th grade one on August 22nd. The date doesn't matter. The date just opens it up. You can give it any time after that, okay? So don't ever reschedule a test. So, just a quick review. District has scheduled a test for us to give, guys. We click on My Tests. We look at the scheduled test there. It's going to appear right there. And then as a school, you have to make a decision who's going to print that stuff out. If it's one person printing it out at the school sites, that's the easiest way to go about it. Then you guys don't even have to take people through My Test because the printouts will be there and we can start with the tests themselves and scores. Okay?
We don't have scheduled tests.
You don't have anything because nothing's scheduled for you guys yet. Oh, no. No one's scheduled anything for you guys yet. They're in the system, but they're just not scheduled for you guys. Okay? Does that make sense? So we'll talk about it as district staff here to really get the best way of doing this process, and we'll let everybody know kind of the best way. And I'll put it on a widget probably and push it out to everybody. It says, do this process, ... Okay. All right. So you're in your live database, right? Just walk me through. You don't have scores yet. Walk me through. If I'm on my dashboard, we just gave a pre-post. How do I find scores in the system? Go to My Test. Excuse me. And then what are you going to do after My Test? Test with scores. Thank you. And then what are you going to do next? Check the little box. Don't click into it. And tell your other clickers at your schools to stop it. I'm telling you, it's a good rule. Okay? And then you're into the reports and you see the reports. Let me show you another place for all of you, some shortcuts here once you learn the system a little bit better. All right, so let's say I had tests with scores here. Instead of clicking in the box, I have a drop down here. I can get to all the reports from right here once I know the name of the report. So if I wanted to go straight into item analysis, I can go straight into item analysis by skipping results over standards or results by student. Okay? So all the different things I can do here. Okay? Now, you most likely won't be scheduling, but I'm going to show scheduling right now in my final few minutes just so you can see what it looks like. Okay? I'm on a demo. You can watch mine. And I'm going to go to tests I created. I bet you I have something in there. Let's put a training one out there. Okay. Here's my training language assessment. It's not scheduled. Watch what I do here for schedules. And this is what you guys will want to when you do common. I'm going to say schedule test. This will say pre-post for you guys because the test will be in the system. Schedule test. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to give it a date. I'm going to give it today's date for the window. If you're doing it online, try to schedule closer to the online date. Okay? Because the child will see, if they're taking both ELA and math, they will see both those tests online, and it's possible they jump into an ELA by accident when it's supposed to be math. It's going to automatically take you, okay, right now as Paul Baker, it's going to take me to myself, and if I was ever scheduling by myself, here's my name, here's the period I'm scheduling for, I'm done. Roster is already scheduled to go. If I'm scheduling for a whole group, which you guys will be doing here, it's going to take you to step 3. Don't worry about that, you don't need it. But we're going to schedule by, most likely for all of you, because period by period breakdown, schedule by course. So schedule for all English teachers and then schedule for all math. Easiest way to do it. At the elementary levels, easiest way is generally by grade if it's not a period by period. Okay? Then I'm going to say I'm by teacher. Let me just schedule Paul here. Come on, Paul. Here we go. The schedule is first class, next step. Schedule test. Added. If it's online, students can just go right in and do it. Where would I find their logins? If I made it online for you, I can print student logins from right there. And the student logins will appear right here. Login name and password. So you will each have a list of that if you're doing an online test. Okay? No, when you see a scheduled one in that drop down, it's going to say print logins if you want to just do it from there. You don't even have to get into the schedule.
Does it change per test?
No, this is always the same. So students can remember it. I believe yours is set up with, I want to say student ID number and first and last name. All they do is type exactly what they see here with the space, no underscore, anything like that, and they put it in. Now you may have a unique case of a kid that has 18, 19 letters in their name. It'll take up to 17 characters for that name. So that's why you have the login sitting there to tell the kids stop right there to log in.
After the child takes their test, is it going to show them their score right away?
If it's multiple choice, it's going to show all the multiple choice right away.
Is it going to show all of the right answers?
No.
So the children have no way to access the right answers for the test?
Not in that way, no.
Okay.
No, it's all protected.
And
Yep.
I want to rewind to when you said that they can accidentally go into English if they're supposed to be in
Uh-huh.
math. If that happens and they get out of it, they can go back into it? Or
Yes, by teacher permission. So all a teacher has to come by is just put their username and password. A little box shows up. Put your username and password. You open the test back up for them to take. Okay? But they can't see it. Okay? So that's exactly how the logins get printed. But if this was paper pencil, it's going to look like this. And your first question is going to be, do I have to look at all these bubbles on a test sheet right now? Yes, you do, until we change to our smart sheets. So here's the 11 questions on this particular one. This one has a certain test form number to it, okay, because we can give multiple form type assessments. Student name is right here. It's all right here. They don't have to write on it, okay? Test of the name is right here, and the period it goes with is right here. So say, for example, you mix your period 2 with period 3. It does not matter. It's going to scan in the system. It's going to go to that particular test, and the results will go that way. Your pre-post will be very easy right away because they're all multiple choice. So multiple choice is going to be real easy here. What we have to do is train for the benchmarks when we have some type of constructed. And here's one way you can do it to think about it. You tell me what's easier. I can go in the system and put a score in there based on a rubric 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or I could say if number 10 was a constructor response, I could put 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Put the rubric numbers in here. And then what I can do is if the child got a 4, I can color it in, scan it in the system. Okay? Fill it in. I said color. I used to teach first grade.
We're gonna do everything online.
Okay. Yeah. And it's going to be the same way online when we do maintain results, when I show you that at some point. It's going to be the same thing. You're going to see the bubbles here. It's going to see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. You just click 4, 3, 2, next student, 4, 3, 2, next student, 4, 3, 2, whatever it is. Okay. Testlets, just do the multiple choice part of it. Don't worry about the constructed, okay? We don't care about the scores being in there for testlets. But for item analysis purposes for you guys, makes life easy.
I just want to ask a question about if they're taking it online, are they able to access the internet or anything, or does it kind of like log in?
Good question. Can we access? Your technology staff, and I'll work with them, what we can do at each of your sites is set up a small little kiosk shortcut here where it goes straight to DataWise. They cannot tour anywhere online. It's kiosk mode only. So they can only take the test there, and it logs them into it. Okay.
I have a question, maybe you can answer. Like how kids who have to have the test read to them, like special ed, it's automatically, the program's going to pick this up so it can read?
Not yet. You're talking about the next generation platform is what you're talking.
So they're going to have somebody sit and actually read it off the screen?
Some accommodation. If it's done online, if it's done by paper pencil, you can sit with the reading the paper
Right.
pencil.
And I'm not familiar with our special ed, what exactly the technology you have, because if we send a test, they scan it, and then it reads the test. So I don't know, can we print the test maybe, and then have them scan it?
And run it through your reader?
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
You
Probably
can-
do that, 'cause I'm just thinking.
You can definitely do that. And I can tell you this, next generation platform guys are coming very soon. So
Right, once they have it ready.
the ability for a test to be read to you and everything like that, we actually have the tool. I've seen the tool. It's just a next generation platform. That stuff, we developed that with the special ed. How are we going to do this at the school sites? If we're going to go all online testing, you've got to think about the computer schedules and the windows that you're going to have to do it. Online with a pre-post, I'm going to tell you, you can get it done like that. The results are in. It makes testing very easy. There's no glitches whatsoever. Okay? We'll look at your logins to make sure it's refreshing, make sure it's all there. But that's going to be the easiest way to do that one. Benchmarks, same way. Benchmarks, you can have some multiple choice in there, but you can have a lot of short answer and other types of items. Right now, you know that EBSR that I described, the two-part multiple choice? If I put it in a system like this as two-part multiple choice, it'll mess with the points right now. So what we've had to do is put it into a constructed response where they actually answer it in a constructed response form rather than. It's just the technology, content's ahead of technology, okay, because the item types. So when you first show this, you have some decisions to make. Do we just seriously wait, give the logins to the teachers at the school site, and say, hey, here's your logins, here's the URL that they go to, and they just take test. It's going to say take test, and student clicks on take test, and it's there. And then we wait to show the system when we get the data in it. It's one option. Okay. Another option on Wednesday, or when you guys go do this, is this. Just log them into the system. Show how they log in with their first name, last name, so they can see the dashboard. They can see the tools that are there. You can walk them through just some very simple things of, here's a question mark that's going to be a help center. You know, we could populate their favorites, and the only two things I'd put in their favorites for right now, my students and my tests, okay? You don't have to go clicking on them because there's not going to be really anything there yet, especially if it's online, okay? But if you are going to go the route where they have to print their own logins in, they're going to have to learn to click on my tests. And I'll write this down. I'll put it on a sheet of paper for you. My tests, scheduled tests, 2 clicks, step here, print logins, and they have it. And they're ready to take that test. Okay. 3 steps. Okay. How are we all feeling right now? Overwhelmed yet? I've shown you a percentage of the system, just a small percentage. But that's the beauty of this. We don't have to learn this all this year in one day or whatever it is. We'll take our time to do this.
I know whenever we go back over, they're gonna wanna know, when should they be expecting?
And those will be scheduled by district.
So there's no time frames that they're gonna.
I don't know the time frames. Every district's a little different.
For
Pre-post.
pre-post test, you have September 4th to the 20th. That has been set.
All right, so I'm going to show you guys some things. I know I'm at 11:30. Please feel free. I know my time is up. But if you want to see the pre-post tests, I'm going to just share them with you, just to see what they look like. You can't see them in your system because you don't have them. Let's go 9th grade. Here they are right here. I'm going to go into edit a test. You can't edit these, by the way. They're in there. 9th grade math, here we go. I'll just show you what it looks like, everyone. And we'll see if there's some scaffolded ones. You notice you can't change it. You can't save it. It's okay. It's protected here. Print preview. Here's some really cool things you guys can do here. There's the assessment. We will indicate on our tests forms whether they can use a calculator or not on these types of items. It'll have it slash through the calculator here. I scroll down, I can see the rest of the assessment. It's all right there. Online, this is what it's going to look like. Remember what they did here. All multiple choice to get started. All multiple choice to get started. But watch what you can do and have some fun with. Let's see if it's protected. I don't think it is. I've created an answer key now for myself as a hard copy, right? Another cool thing, when we do our meetings, our PLCs, I'm going to put explanations right here. And guess what shows up on my pre-post? The distractor rationales show up with my explanations. Okay? So I have this hard copy of data I can talk about here looking at that item analysis report. So some pretty cool things that you can do here. It's going to be up to you guys to protect, obviously, the assessment and getting out there and everything like that. So that's something you want to talk about, how we protect these so they're not just out there. But remember, keep in mind this. This is the first assessment. You may see that your kids do absolutely wonderful on this assessment. You're thinking, oh, wait a minute, that's a pre-test of everything. Remember, we use multiple choice, lower level items. You could possibly see some better scores on this pre-post that's designed this way. Okay? We're looking at designing with Francis, your network leader, another pre-post starting next year. It's going to have a lot more meat to it when they're used to those types of items, and it'll kind of be that, this is that summative level assessment. So it'll be there. Okay. But you can see that reading. You can see how many passages here. 9th grade. Print preview. All right, let's see what we have here. Oh, the moon buggy race, yes. Informational reading. Okay. Notice this one, to be quicker, they chose one passage for this one to answer question with. In our testlets and everything else, you're going to see a lot of times the paired passages. Sometimes you will see a single passage because that's what was required to build it that way. I scroll down. 6 through 15, I have selection 2. I have selection 3. All of these relate, everyone. They all relate. And then I have some more down here, selection 4. Poems. This is 30 questions, everyone. Actually, 29. Okay. But you see the text complexity there? You see this could take some time? This is the year where you say, you know what? I'm just going to take the time. I'm not going to rush it because I want to see what they know and what they don't know. If I rush it, I'm not going to get good data. Okay? Everybody feeling okay about that? Okay. So the district will make some decisions and let you guys know, but you guys know now where to get your logins for my tests. Okay? That's a piece you may want to show. You may want to do some simple logging into the system, just get used to it, what's there. And then if you really want to torture people, math people, we'll give ELA a test in math. ELA people, you give people a math test, okay? Or excuse me, an ELA test. It's a lot of fun. You can torture, you know, are you smarter than 5th grade? I usually give a 5th grade test during this time. So play with it. The more you get into the system, the more you'll use it. If you let this go right now, you're not going to use it much, okay? But that study guide on the front of the dashboard has everything you need to know. Everything you need to know. And last but not least, everyone, you can actually write this down, but it's in your system. That's my contact information. That is my cell phone. I have one phone and one phone only. You need to feel free to call me. It's not a bad thing to call me. If there's a technology problem, call the help desk, okay? Because they're going to be able to answer faster than I can. If it's a question, hey, I'm going into training, can you walk me through the steps again one more time? I will walk you through the steps. We'll do a webinar. Okay? People always wonder, well, is it a charge to do this, and that, webinars with you and all that? No, it's not. Just call me. We'll do it. I thank you for your time. This is going to be a fun little partnership, everyone. I have fun part of it, though. You know, I have a lot of fun. But listen, this is just the start of it. As we learn this process more and more, there's going to be bumps and bruises, but we're going to learn better processes of implementing this and making it happen much more smoothly as time goes on. So I don't want a little bump to kind of deter you from saying, you know what, I don't want to look at the data now because of this and that. Don't let that deter what you're doing, okay?